Okay, sound test. Okay, sound test. Cool. Yeah, I don't really have any music or anything for this one, just me talking. That's all. But, anyways, time to share links so that, I let people know I'm live. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, tum, tum, tum. Hmm. Do. Oh, hey, I actually have viewers. Cool. Okay, not many viewers, but I barely even started. That's nice. Anyway, I suppose I should switch to the starting page. There we go. Yeah, the basic idea here is I had an idea for a Monopoly variant based on what is realistically an unfinished concept sketch for a game board that when you actually think about it, whoever designed this, while certain aspects of it are vaguely similar to Monopoly, the overall structure is not. And the person who created this didn't actually have a clear concept of what your even goal is, and he didn't actually create a game to go with it. He just, Anyway, though, gave me an idea. Hmm. So, but the idea I had is actually quite simple. Think of a way to actually make this into a proper Monopoly variant. Yeah, that's going to take a lot of tinkering, to put it simply. Alrighty then. Well, there. Links have been shared. So, first things first. I have, after staring at this and considering carefully, decided it should have. Let's see here. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 4. Yeah, that's a lot of color groups. Yeah, it's like the outer ring, the second. Okay, I decided after a while to number the rings one, starting at the smallest one, two, three, and four. Ring one only has four color groups in it. Ring 2 has 8 color groups in it and is overall the closest in size to a regular Monopoly board. Ring 3, yeah, that's considerably larger than a regular Monopoly board, but I decided that since I'm going to increase the number of properties in a group, that I would still only have 8 in this ring. Also, having 8 in this ring, I only had to up the property count to 4 to make it work, so it's fine. Then you have the outer ring, which, yeah, that one's huge. Not sure exactly how large I'm going to end up with them being, because as part of making this into an actual playable Monopoly variant, I'm going to redraw the board, because the person who drew this didn't actually fully think through making a game using this, so he didn't, make things actually work, and I'm going to have to correct those awkward, let's call them features. Anyway, though. So, made a thing for card decks. This is, I think it was going to, who cares? Anyway, one would have expected me to do something like finishing the presentation, but realistically, rearranging the presentation is part of what I'm doing for the stream, so it was inevitable that I would not actually have a fully finished presentation when I started this, because I'm going to create a lot of stuff as part of the presentation. Anyways, so okay, I have, let's see here. Oh yeah, I wrote down some notes. I'm not certain that this is a good idea, but we'll do it anyways. Will this giant wall of text fit? Probably not. Only one way to be 100% certain. Nah, no. Frack that. No. Anyway. I do not actually want to have it a bulletized list, but yeah. Oh, that is much, much too large of a font size. Anyway. I actually do like the bulletization, the way that came out, somewhat. .32 font. No. Let's try 12 just to see what that looks like. Oh my goodness, that is, not horrible, but not what I need. I can work with this, though. Thing is, having this being a bulletized list is a pain in the ass, and I don't like it. I know, it's a weird visual artifact. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Okay, you know what? The location counts section I can put on a different slide. Yeah. That helps a lot. Anyway, okay, so before I continue, I'm going to duplicate this slide. And then in the dupe, I'm going to A, V. Boom. Okay. All right. That text is probably really hard to see. Oh, wow. So let's go back to this one and move the text so it's not on top of the board. That'll do. Heck, I can even increase the font size. Yeah, maybe like 14. Let's see if 14 works. Go with 15. Let's go try it 16. There. That's about the biggest I can make that. Okay, yeah, so here. This is the prison. This here, 0-1. This is the little thing connecting the prison to Ring 1. Those are going to be what I've decided to dub white spaces. White spaces are not properties. They're always special something or other. It's not a territory you can control. It's something that when you land on it, something happens. Maybe nothing, actually. Because one thing that occurred to me is that while regular Monopoly has free parking, with this layout, having several equivalents of free parking would actually make sense. And also I decided that I did actually want to do a cash pool system, like the whole putting money on free parking thing. It's just that for gameplay reasons, I'm going to have that only be things that are explicitly defined in the game rules as going there, so that it's not going to get ridiculous, because sometimes people put way too much money on that. Anyway, so some of the white spaces would be things like, oh, you have to pay $100 to the cash pool. That would be one example of something for white spaces. Yeah, I had a list of things I was going to have for ideas on that. I'm not finished doing the list. That's actually one of the things I was planning on doing on this stream, is going through the thing and making list ideas. Anyway, though, so Ring 1. This here, it has a total of, I think, 16 spaces in it, 4 of which are going to be forced into being special spaces because they're what I call arrow spaces. The ones with red arrows on them, well, okay. In Ultimate Monopoly, which is what inspired this, all of the railroads are special spaces that change the direction of travel when you pass through them. So, if you are, like, clockwise is the normal direction of travel in the ring. All 4 rings travel clockwise, just as a basic gameplay concept. When you are moving normally, you will always move that direction. Now, if you are passing through a red arrow space and you have an odd number, you will move in the direction that the red arrow is pointing instead of following around the ring that you're in. Now, I have the idea of having methods to screw with that, like this thing here talking about white cards. These are things that modify how you move during your turn. I didn't write that in here. Anyway, so the white cards, which there's more than one way of getting them. Like one of the ideas I had for the white board spaces that don't actually have properties associated with them is to have them be places where if you land here, you draw one of the white cards. Which, since you have already finished movement for this turn, you can't use it unless you got doubles or something and roll again, whatever. Anyway, you playing a white card is done as a response to someone rolling the dice for their turn. And that would then change where that player goes. Like one of the ideas for a white card, you know what? I should actually just make a slide to write these down. Blunk. Anyway. I know. White card is incredibly boring way of describing it, and quite frankly, all of the cards are named after whatever color the deck is. Yeah, if you look here, there's like 5 decks shown here, which, yeah, interesting. Huh. Anyway. Also, the idea I had for the yellow deck and the white deck, while they are related, they're not exactly the same. Because the yellow cards don't directly modify die rolls. They are things that cause you to move to somewhere or something along those lines, but they don't directly change the outcome of a dice roll. Let's see. Oh, yeah, +/-1, where, you know, this particular card can be played to change the roll of a dice up or down by 1. Also, this changes whether the total is odd or even, which matters for the red arrows. Because the red arrow space is if you're moving an odd number, you go one way. If you're moving an even number, you go the other. So playing a white card to change the dice total matters. +2. I said +2. -2. Again, same idea, but these aren't just 1. They're a little bit more. And to be honest, I kind of like the idea of having things that are vaguely similar, but some of the cards are just better than others because they are. And having the whole thing of like, hey, I got one of the good cards. You know what? That's kind of a standard thing with the Monopoly card decks. Some of the Monopoly cards are intentionally designed to be things you don't want. So, for this, I'm going to make these vaguely different. +2, -2. Reverse movement. This one, instead of moving forwards, you move backwards. Whatever would be defined as backwards from your current position. The only exception is that you can't play them to cause someone to move towards the prison. Like, moving backwards when you're here actually just causes you to move counterclockwise around the ring. You cannot play it on someone who is in one of these 2 spaces here. Only exception there. Because, again, you can't force someone to move to prison. No one moves to prison. You get banished there mostly by bad luck. Mostly. Then again, the whole thing of like being able to play white cards on your opponents, you could, in theory, cause them to land on the go to jail space. I'm going to have more than one of those, so, you know, hey. I figure at least one of them in each ring, maybe more than one. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided on that. Okay, so another one that's I came up with that is there solely to screw with the way the red arrows work. Yeah, polarity shift. This is solely to have your move be treated as either a odd or even when it's not. Again, something that regular Monopoly has no use for, but due to the way that the red arrows work, I figured it would be a good thing to have here, even if it's something that is completely pointless in regular Monopoly, because polarity shift doesn't actually change the number rolled. It just treats it as the other of being odd or even. So if you roll a 12, play polarity shift, it gets treated as an odd number when you're going through a red arrow, which causes you to move sideways instead of laterally. Is it, something you would necessarily want to do? Well, that's a choice. How are you going to move? Where are you going? Yeah, being able to force the red arrow to let you go where you want to go could be a major advantage if it takes you to a place you really want to be. Again, it's something that you use as a choice, and that's the thing with the white cards. You do not play the white cards just because you drew one. You keep them to play them when it matters. You don't just, I got a white card, this is what I do now. That's what makes them different from the yellow ones. The yellow ones, yes, there are things that involve modifying movement, but they are things that have an immediate effect when you draw them. Now, they might have some effects that lingers a certain amount, but overall, the basic gist of it is to do something because you drew the card. I might add more to this later. Anyway. Brown, green, and blue cards. These are the equivalents of chance and community chest, but there's 3 different versions of it because I don't want a card to be the equivalent of Advance to St. Charles Place when you go from the second ring all the way to the 4th ring. In Ultimate Monopoly, having stuff like that come up is a major league pain in the ass. Because the concept of advance is just, I mean, we were able to make it work, but it's still annoying. Especially since, under certain circumstances, they would actually cause you to go past 2 payday spaces. Like, really. Kind of annoying. And not in a good way, unfortunately, which is kind of a bummer. However, for this, anyway, yeah, it's like the ones that are brown, green, or blue. If they tell you to move to another space, it will be something that is in the same ring as they are. Yellow ones might teleport you to a different ring. But they don't advance you, they move you directly so that you don't have to deal with the weird annoyance of trying to advance through a Gordian knot of twisting and turning passages. That was always the big issue that Ultimate Monopoly had with cards that said advance to somewhere. Yeah, figure out how to advance. Good luck with that one. Anyway, so orange. Okay, some versions of Monopoly involve a stock market. So I decided to have orange cards that are related to stock market stuff. Notably, though, the default method of acquiring stock market cards in Ultimate Monopoly is to land on the stock market space. Yeah, that either requires extreme luck or no, actually, there's just more than one way of getting there via luck. All of the ways of getting there are lucky. In fact, the stock market is nearly completely useless due to the tiny number of times that it would actually come up in a game. So, I'm not sure exactly how much of an effect I really want it to have, but it seemed to me as if having orange things do stock market stuff would be a good idea. To make it so that the stock market isn't confined to a single space on the board, which, when it's a three-tiered board, having it be only on a single space means, yeah, good luck getting there. Now, there were cards in the Chance and Community chest decks that impacted the stock market. Not many of them. So, even then, it didn't come up often. But hey, stuff like that happens. Now, another thing that I'm probably going to have for white spaces is things where you land here, and then at the beginning of your next turn, you can choose to go to a counterpart location in a different ring. Yeah, that was a major thing in Ultimate Monopoly, and it was a feature that was nice. Is it necessary? No. But this is board game design. Necessary is a matter of opinion, and quite frankly, board games themselves are not actually something I would define as necessary as a general rule. So it's more a matter of, does this do something that is fun? Also subjective, but differently so. So, let's look at stock markets deck. Orange cards. Okay, so, let's see. Get a stock at random for free. That sounds like fun. One thing I actually did was draw up a random table for that, but honestly, I think the game has one somewhere. I don't remember, though. Getting a stock at random for free because you landed on one of the orange spaces, why not? Now, I'm not actually sure exactly how I'm going to trigger people to do benefits for stocks. But, here's one. Yeah. Instead, this is important because of the fact that if other players have stock and you don't, this means that you can, screw the other players out of getting any money. But only if you don't have any stock at all. Now, here's one. Okay. Also, I need to specify pay to what? Pay to the bank. Why? Because this is a PvP game. That's why. It's a PvP game, so you have things for players to screw each other over because it's a PvP game. Simple as that. You win by making sure the other players lose. Now, that actually does remind me of something. Actually forcing all of the other players into complete bankruptcy would seemingly take a long time in this, and I'm not sure exactly how I want to deal with that yet. I do, however, like the idea of Monopoly Millionaire Edition, where the actual goal of the game is to accumulate $1 million. That version of Monopoly changed all of the values by basically just like adding a few zeros to all of them. So like the equivalent in regular Monopoly would be to like play until one player has like, I don't know, like $20,000 or something. Anyway, though. But yeah, like for this one, it's like playing until one player has a certain amount of money. I honestly haven't worked out what would be a reasonable number for this yet, though. Because, again, it's like you have this giant board and all of these stuffs. And also, it's like I would consider the resale value of all of the properties possessed to count towards the amount of money you need to win the game. So if it's set at 1 million, then, well, if you had, oh, also it's like, oh, that is actually reminds me of something. That some versions of Monopoly actually do have a feature where you can actually just straight up sell properties back to the bank. Like, oh, I need $200 to pay rent. I can sell a property to the bank, at which point it goes from being owned by a player to completely unowned, and get back the value of the property as cash. Well, having that as the method of deciding how much you are considered to have as your monetary value of your assets would seem like a reasonable way of doing that. I haven't figured out what those numbers need to be yet because stuff. However, we're working in that direction. Anyway, so stocks. Put one in for everyone gets dividends. Ooh, here's one. You know what? I'm not. Roll a dice and just return to bank. If any is owned. This is long. I feel the need to reword this to make it shorter. I'll figure that out later. Important part is to write down the idea. Because realistically, one of the issues with the stock market in the one is you don't want to have them just evaporate repeatedly. Like, yes, stock market crash concept. Sure, whatever. Only one. Not all of them. Again, having it just be you don't want them all to be bad. If all of the cards are bad, yeah, people are going to avoid them, and it won't be fun. You're like, ooh, what did it came up this time? Oh, that was a bad one. Ah, or it could be a good one. Yeah, see, the thing with this that makes it complicated is that it has. Oh, you know what? Yeah. That's what I should do. Decomplicate it by decoupling the two aspects. Okay. There. There. Okay. Here we have several ideas. Like getting a stock at random for free. Cool. Dividends from stock, or if you don't have stock, buy one, because no one starts the game with stock. That was one of the features with stock, and I'm not certain it's a good one. But it's the way that historically the stock has been done. Stealing a stock from another player, I mean, it's a PvP game. Yeah. That is actually a thing that comes up in certain versions of Monopoly that you don't see in standard Monopoly, is the ability to steal properties from another player by getting a random card. You don't see it in stock, but you will see it in some of the modified versions, and I actually kind of like it. I think stock doesn't do it because in stock, getting a full color group is godly, and quite frankly, the only way to actually, win the game is to be the person who has the most color groups. In this, well, one of the things in Ultimate Monopoly is that you need to have the majority of a color group. For this, because of the fact that I'm going to have color groups that are, large, and what did I write down here? Ring 4. 8 times 6 properties. So the color groups that I'm going to have in Ring 4 are going to have 6 properties in each. I think the best way to handle this would be that in order to develop a property, you have to be either the person who has the highest number of properties in that group, or you have to be tied for that. So, if a 6-property group, it has 1, 1, 2, 2 as the split between 4 different players, only the players who own 2 properties in the group can develop. And if one of the players who owns 2 properties in the group acquires a third one, the other player who still only has 2 loses the ability to build further developments, but any developments they currently have will remain. Yeah, I need to borrow these. Okay, rent and development. This is something that in Classic Monopoly is actually incredibly complicated, and something that I personally consider to be a weak point in the design of Classic Monopoly. You need to have a deck of cards just to know what rents are. Honestly, the property deed deck is actually just as important to have in Classic Monopoly as the game board itself. And the game board is easier to replace. Yeah, the copy of Monopoly that we played most when I was a child, some of the decks, or some of the property deeds were replicas that we drew on construction paper. Because we don't know where the original of that particular property deed went, and quite frankly, it doesn't matter if all of the ones are the same cardstock, because you don't shuffle them anyway, so whatever. Anyway, this, due to this insane math that you come up with here. I need to fix this so you can see it better. Tickle, and push this right. Oh, I didn't put in the total number here. Anyway. Yeah, okay, anyway. Standard Monopoly has 6 plus 6 plus 5 plus 5, 22 regular properties, 2 utilities, and 4 railroads. So a total of 28 things that you can buy and charge rent for. 28 total. This has, for actual real estate properties, this does not count utilities or railroads. For the regular real estate properties, this is currently set up to have 144 instead of 26. Wait, no, I said 22 was the regular real estate. Utilities and railroads added another 6, so 22. This is approximately 6 times as many real estate style properties as regular Monopoly. Yeah. Building a deck of... Yeah, also, I haven't put in railroads for this yet. I mean, I would probably end up having something like... Yeah, I would probably have something like 16 railroads and at least a dozen utilities. So, yeah. Writing up title deeds for, let's see here, plus 16, that would up it to 160, plus 12, 172 approximately. I don't actually have a finalized number yet. That is a lot of property deeds. That is a ridiculously large number of property deeds. printing them on the same cardstock that you have for the standard Monopoly deeds would be a stack so high that I would be seriously concerned about it falling over just because it's so stinking big. Needless to say, the idea of making that many property deeds does not appeal to me. It really doesn't. So the idea I came up with is something very simple. Make it so that all rent and development costs are a function of the base value of a property and not some arbitrary abstract calculation that, yes, I did math how they work in standard Monopoly, and it's Eldritch Moon logic that I don't understand. Yeah. I looked at it enough to get a feel for the amount that it goes up approximately, and I decided I didn't care after that. Oh yeah. Copy this. So, click to add text. Yeah, I'm getting to that. Good rules. Oh yeah, you can't see this. Well, I'm going to copy paste it so you can't see. Special spaces, jail, properties, deeds, houses, rents. Right, I need to change the font again. I keep forgetting that. I really should just stop copy pasting from that. Oh, actually, you know what I should do? There, screw you. It changed back. You. There. Now it can stay that way indefinitely. Anyways, moving on. Did that one. Here we are. In classic Monopoly, base rents are a very trivial amount compared to developed rent. Well, here's the thing. In lieu of having actual property deeds for this one, I decided that the best way to handle that would be to have the player put a token on the space in their color to mark that they own it. And one of the things that I came to realize about this is that if these tokens are the equivalent of houses, that would also mean that for this variant, I would be having everyone have as their basic I own it price be the one house value that you have in regular Monopoly instead of the I don't have anything value. But anyways, the house price in original Monopoly is solely based on which side of the board you're on. Are you on side 1, side 2, side 3, or side 4? 50, 100, 150, 200. That's the only logic here. With this, there's so many different property groups in so many different places, like 4 rings, and then there's these arcs that are like, I decided to call them sub-rings because I couldn't think of anything better to call them. Well, all of those are places that are going to have properties to develop. Well, one of the things that occurred to me is the simple fact that you can't just make it something like, oh, this side of the board is this value, that side of the board is that value, because you have 4 different rings, 2 sub rings, and that means that you would effectively have something like 20 sides of the board. And doing all of those to have different prices, you might as well just value the properties individually. Like, seriously. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Buying a house I'm going to be just like 50% of the base cost of the property. At first glance, you're like, "Wow, that's ridiculous. That's absurd." But, oops, wrong. New slide. This one down here. Okay, so I'm going to find something because I didn't add it earlier. Oh, come on. Oh, whatever. I'll just use this one. No, screw you. Anyway, this is the ultimate Monopoly board. This has in it... Actually, you know what? I don't need this, so I'm going to kill it. This has the regular Monopoly board as the second ring. Now, one thing that you will quickly notice is that paying to upgrade these properties is 50. Here's the thing. This one costs 100 as the base price. This one costs 120 as the base price. These cost 60 each. Paying 50 to upgrade them is a substantial fraction of the cost to buy the property in the first place. Granted, it's worth it, obviously, but... Oh yeah, I did some math earlier. Okay, so New York Avenue. The base cost to buy it is 200. You know what? It's good. I'll just copy all of these here. Control C. Is this going to work? Probably not. Ah! Why does it have carriage returns? Base cost. Now, 16... you know what? I'm not going to have the 16 in here. Yeah, those are redundant. There, that'll do. I mean, yes, anyone who's watching did see all of that anyways, but whatever. Let's see. Hallucinogenic orange. So, oh yeah, you know what? I will add a shadow effect to that just to make it pop better. There we go. So, for New York Avenue, the base cost to buy is 200. The default rent, with no upgrades whatsoever, is 16. Yeah. Why? I don't have any logic whatsoever for this one. I did note that 10% minus 4 seemed to be the approximate going rate for most properties. Attempting to understand the logic behind why completely escapes me. It does seem, but that is how it seemingly works. Again, I don't know why. Anyway, though, so New York, one house, 80, two houses, 220. Then it jumps all the way up to 600 at 3, and then goes up a relatively small amount to 800 and 1,000. That is a very, very fickle power curve. Like, the base rent is almost nothing. You have a substantial fee for only one house, and it gets stupid fast and caps out at a rather high amount. Now, I chose New York Avenue because the fact that the numbers are simple. Realistically, sorry, I had to sneeze. Realistically, the specific numbers for each individual property vary, and sometimes rather erratically, but they all follow a similar pattern to this. There is some sort of warped eldritch logic to it, although I don't actually understand it. There is a observable pattern, even if the logic behind why that pattern exists is unavailable. So, anyways, what did I think of when trying to figure out how to modify this to have a formula-based thing for all of these levels of upgrades? Well, one, I decided that it would be a good idea to have 10 levels of upgrades instead of only 5. 2, I decided that it would be best to set upgrade costs to be 50% of the purchase price of the property. So, well, I mean, realistically, that actually functionally reduces most of them. Yes, really. Because for like stuff like Mediterranean, for example, and Baltic, those would go down to $30 to upgrade them instead of being $50. Like New York Avenue, costs $100 to upgrade. However, St. James Place also costs $100 in the stock version of Monopoly, but using this rule, St. James Place would only cost $90 to upgrade. I'm not sure how I'm actually going to set out the property values, because I don't actually want to have properties that are like stupidly expensive compared to stock properties. Like, I don't want it to go from $60 to $1,000. I probably will have some of them go above 400, but, you know, because like no, I don't want you to do that. Oh, I accidentally clicked this button. No, anyway, what I decided I wanted to do for the approximation of values is to have the central ring here, ring 1, be essentially like side 1 of the regular Monopoly board. They have some variation to their values, but they're, you know, approximately... They're similarly low value. Also, they're all adjacent to the prison, so that makes sense. Anyways, the sub-rings, I'll have those be a slightly higher value than the main ring they're attached to. Not necessarily the top value, though. Actually, you know what? For these, it would make sense to have them be intermediate in value between ring 3 and ring 4. These, I'm not so sure about. I think I want these to be intermediate in value between ring 2 and ring 3. There is no sub-ring for ring 3, so, you know. And realistically, I don't actually want to have something lower in value than ring 2. Because, quite frankly, this is a terribly small value as is. These are all going to be things that are kind of sort of like the equivalent of Mediterranean and Baltic. And, you know, the blue color group. Pale blue, that is. Anyways. So, as I was mentioning before, though, the final cost with New York Avenue fully developed is approximately 5 times the amount that it cost to buy the property in the first place. Also, you need to pay the buy a house cost 5 times. So your cost sunk into New York Avenue when you get to having a hotel on it is $700 total. Granted, you need to own the full color group in order to do this, and the build evenly rule applies, so you can't build a hotel on New York Avenue without having at least 4 houses on the other 2 members of the color group. And, you know, cool. But, just looking at New York Avenue, it's a total of 700 sunk. And you get 1,000 out of it each time someone lands on it. Quite return on investment, honestly. So for the mathematical approach that I was going to come up with, the one, you would effectively gain 1 house because you own it. So I'm going to basically start off at the 1 house owned limit, which, okay, each house will give you a rent equal to 50% of the base price, because I decided to have it always be the 1 house version compared to regular Monopoly, and not the pathetically low no houses exist here rent value. Yeah, so like I said, I want the max to cap out at 5 times the base, so 10 houses, and each of which gives you rent equal to 50% of the base price. So for the example of New York, it would be, you know what, I'm going to extend this. No. Okay, come down. Stupid thing. No, not the picture. Alright, so the modified version. We'll go 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and so on and so forth. 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. Eventually, you get to 1,000. See, the 100 price here is about the same, and the 1,000 price here is about the same. There is a caveat to this, though, and of course that caveat is the fact that you have to have 9 levels of paid upgrades, not 5. Which does functionally increase the cost to get to the finished upgrade level from 500 to 900. So instead of being 700, it's 1,100. I can see why people would find that somewhat disappointing, but, you know, what can you say? It works. Even if it's not necessarily ideal, it works. And also, having multiple layers like this means that you're not going to have someone just max it out immediately. Because you pay 500 and you only get up to the 600 thing. You need to pay the other 400 to get to 1,000. Long term, this will have some sort of an effect. I'm not sure what. Again, I haven't tested this. This is still a theoretical rules adjustment. Anyway, though. So, yeah, it's like 10 levels of improvements would more or less be like having 2 hotels. Sort of. Now, I could have it at only 5 improvement levels. That would, in some ways, actually make more sense. It's just that I would need to drastically rethink how they are scaled because taking that 1,000 value and dividing it by 5 means that, well, it's kind of sort of by borrowing from Monopoly Junior, where rent is simply the base purchase price. Monopoly Junior doesn't bother with title deeds either. Which is actually something I liked about Monopoly Junior, to be quite honest. Monopoly Junior, you place your ticket booth on a property. You don't worry about upgrade levels, though. But in Monopoly Junior, rent prices are always directly a function of the actual purchase price of the property, which means that in Monopoly Junior, your return on investment is actually insanely high. Because you spend, well, in Monopoly Junior, all of the base rent prices are single-digit numbers. But if you spend $5 buying a property, you get $5 in rent money when someone lands on it. Monopoly Junior did have a modicum of an upgrade system where if you own all of the properties in a color group, it doubles the rent on all of the properties in that color group. That's it. That's the only sort of upgrade system that Monopoly Junior had. Thing is, that kind of simplicity actually made the game very easy to play. No lookup tables to figure out how much rent to pay. None of that stuff. Alrighty then. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I need to make a list of what all the special spaces do. Okay, so let's see here. Another thing is making a list of all of property names, because I need 144 property names. Yeah, that's a lot. Anyway, so continuing on. Okay, so the brown, green, and blue decks. Let's do those. Okay, so I do kind of want these to be a equivalent to chance and community chest cards. But I don't want them to be like direct copies. So I am going to, I think I have it saved somewhere. It's like the list of what all of the cards are in standard Monopoly. No, no, no. These are just the ones you add. Oh, right. I'm looking in the wrong folder. The folder labeled stock is not the original Monopoly. It's all of the stuff related to the stock exchange. Oops. My bad. Okay, found it. Now, well, I did say that the yellow cards would be all things that would be primarily things related to movement. The chancing and community chest cards in stock Monopoly do have things related to relocating a player, like advance to boardwalk, for example, or go to the reading railroad, and stuff like that. So let's see here. Go to X. Dum dum dum. Ah. A lot of these are things related to money, though. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Instead of phrasing this as go to X, okay, so I was saying before, this equivalent of advanced to go, advanced to reading, advanced to boardwalk, the equivalents of those are going to only be things that are relevant to the current ring you're in. So, like, each ring will have an equivalent of go, or it will have, and the, the the other special spaces will vary because, like I mentioned, like the prison space is in the center of the board. So you're not going to have prison spaces as the corners on any of the rings. There's only one. So those are going to have to do other things. But each ring will have its equivalent of go. Is a place where you get a some amount of money when you pass it. Now, move back 3. I mentioned that having the yellow spaces or have a card deck associated with movement. I might actually put some of those in there. I'm not sure if I might actually just like completely change that aspect of it. It's like the whole like move back 3 is like, only the yellow decks. Might be. I haven't decided yet. Yeah, because well, let's see. Let's finish going through the entire list. Bank pays you. Yeah, nearest utility. Bank pays you $50. Go to jail. Okay, yeah. Gotta have those. Yeah, those are classic. Have to have those. Wouldn't be Monopoly without those in the decks. Actually, well, actually, no. I'm just writing down currently what the ones in Classic Monopoly are. I will tinker with this later, obviously, because like $15. That's really not much. Advance to St. Charles Place. Reading, did that one already. Nearest railroad. Yeah, the reason in capitalizing utility and railroad is that it's a basic game design thing where anything that is a specific game term gets capitalized because of the fact that within the logic of the game, it is treated as a proper noun. Even if in regular parlance it is not. Like a utility or a railroad, while those are not singular things, they are specific concepts. But yeah, it is good to remember that a lot of these things are variable. Pay each player 50. I have to say, that one, yeah, if you get that early game, that does actually put a dent in your funds. Like, if it's a six-player game, you have to pay $250 in a game when you only start with two $100 bills. Granted, you also start with two $500 bills, but you don't really want to use those up early game. 250 is a mid-range property. Like, part of the reason why I chose New York is because New York is the last property on side 2 of the board. Actually, you know what? It only has a value of 200. So 250 would actually be, yeah, somewhere in the middle of side 3. Anyways, advance to boardwalk. Did that one already. Electric chairman. I just did that one. Advance to nearest railroad. Oh, there's 2 of those. Yeah. Advance to Illinois. Hmm. Okay. General repairs is a really, really annoying one because of the fact that it can actually have a major financial impact on you. Thing is, it's weird because of the fact that depending on which side of the board you're on, it's either cheap or expensive. Because it's $25 for each house and $100 for each hotel. Yeah, the hotels are actually less bad here. Well, like, for example, it's like 25 for each house. Like, side one, which is, where we have Mediterranean and Baltic, it costs you $50 to build a house. This charges you or $25 as a repair cost. Okay, but if you're putting a house on Boardwalk, that costs you $200 to build the house. Well, this card still only gives you $25. Yeah, my version of this is obviously going to have to be reworded because of the fact that I don't actually have hotels as part of my scheme. But also, it's like, I don't really like how different the thing is based on board side. I haven't decided the exact amount yet. Get to that later. Okay, so I'm done looking at chance cards. Well, on that picture anyways. I downloaded copies of chance cards from the internet. I'm not sure I actually got the full list. Whatever. So, now I'm looking at community chest. Alright, community chest, pay $50 again. I know, shocking. But that's a flat 50. Oh, here's a fun wrinkle. Yeah, because like the whole pay each player $50 thing. Yeah, you're paying the players, not the bank. Important to remember. And then there's this, which is collect $50 for each player. Get out of jail free again. Income tax refund. Click 20. Now, I do like the idea of making it so that these things involve the cash pool. Because, it's like, if the cash pool is empty and you get one thing to pay you, I would have it pull from the bank instead of the cash pool. And, I would probably put in one where you get pull a percentage of the cash pool. Because, there's a logic involved with that. Because, let's face it, landing on free parking is the only way of pulling things out of the cash pool was kind of lame. Yeah. That was not something that I actually was fond of with the unofficial home rule variant for the whole landing on free parking thing, because it kind of sort of messed up the not very good game balance associated with the free parking rule. It's like you're making it worse by making it so that it has to, only be when you land there. Because in stock Monopoly, there is nothing that sends you to free parking. You have to get lucky and land there by random chance. Anyways, so moving on. Bank pays you $20. Receive for service is $25. Oh yeah, that's nothing. Is that the wording on the old Monopoly cards? Assume that it was actually you paying the bank or being paid by the bank, unless it specifically said otherwise. Bank pays you 100. Bank pays you 20. Bank pays you 25. Realistically, I'm probably going to make up my own values for these, but they're not bad. Also, it's like Chance and Community Chest in Standard Monopoly. While there are differences between the decks, those differences are freaking meaningless. Especially since Chance and Community Chest, there's no real difference in how you get to them. They're always just like random luck. Let's see here. Pay. Oh yeah. The community chest version of the one for general repairs is worse. Oh, $40, not 45. Collect 100. Advance to go. Yeah. There's a chance card and a community chest card for advance to go. Pay hospital 100. Yeah, don't have that number in here yet. Whatever. Collect $10. Exactly $10. The funny thing is that this is listed as the second prize in a beauty contest, which is like, huh? A prize in a beauty contest is $10. Does make one wonder. Okay, so this is a different edition, I think, that I'm currently looking at the cards from. Oh, this one says $11 for second prize in a beauty contest. Interesting. Income tax refund, collect 20. Uh, yeah, that was in there, I guess. Advance to go, doctor's fee, pay 50. I guess that was in there. It is interesting that that this version of the beauty contest is $11 though. Wonder why they changed it. Ooh, here's an interesting one. A community chest card that causes you to draw, pay a $10 fine or draw a chance card. How is that a valid choice? Anyway, though, I'm going to put it in here, though. You inherit $100. Receive for services $25. Go to jail. Yep, those are all pretty familiar. The draw a chance card one. I think I think I've just never played an edition of Monopoly that had that one. Pay hospital $100. Get $45. Collect $100. Collect $50. Collect $200. Get out of jail free. Advance to nearest railroad. Advance to nearest railroad. Go to jail. Get out of jail. Bank pays you $50. Go to boardwalk. Go back 3. Go to reading. Advance to St. Charles Place. General repairs. Go. Collect 100. Pay 150. Receive 150. Nope, didn't have that value in here. Yeah, these are just like weirdly random numbers. Interestingly, like the ones for where you pay. Oh, parking fine. Huh. Nope, that one's here too. Okay. The ones where you pay are less interesting numbers, like 50, 150, 100. Whereas the one where the bank pays you has like 25, 45, 11. I mean, there is a pay 15, but you know. That's Illinois, parking fine. Looked at that one already. Receive 150. Pay 12. Okay. And street repairs, 40/115. Wait, 115 in this one? Okay, yeah, it's like the newer version of the chance cards that I see is the one that has it as 25 and 100 on the chance cards when you have to pay for street repairs. The older version has 40 and 115 on chance. Huh. Okay, older version of the community chest just doesn't have a card for being assessed for street repairs. Now, one thing I do recall someone vaguely mentioning to me at some point in the past is that chance tends to have more bad cards than good cards, and community chest also as an opposition to chance, community chest has more good cards than bad cards. Which, yeah, I can kind of see that. Neither one of them is fully safe, and especially when you have a community chest card to tell you to draw a chance card or pay $10 to not draw a chance card. Interesting. But yeah, it's like, I do kind of have the idea of like balancing. It's just that for this one, since each of the 3 colored decks, brown, green, and blue, will only be drawn while in a specific ring. So having one of them be generally bad things and another one be generally good things is a bit questionable as a game design perspective. I do think that having them vary is a good idea. It's just I think that the best way of making them varied is like, the outer ring deck is just more interesting in terms of what it does. And by interesting, I mean painful. It's like, it would be the one that has the most expensive version of general repairs. But it's like, in some versions of Monopoly, there's a chance version of general repairs and a community chest version, and the amounts that they give you are different. Why? Good question. Ask someone else who actually knows. I don't know. Actually, that's an interesting thing to ponder. Yeah. Both versions of them have 16 and 16. It is actually interesting to note that the stock Monopoly game only actually has 16 chance and community chest cards. So you will run through the deck, and rather quickly. Anyway. Oh yeah, one very, very rarely used rule in Monopoly. I'm not actually sure, completely certain if this is in the original rules or not, which I have a copy of here, so I can just read it. Unowned property, advantages for owners, landing on chance. Accordance with the list printed on the title deed card accompanying, if the lot contains a house or houses, the rent is larger than it would be for an unimproved lot. If the lot is mortgaged, no rent can be collected. Mortgage property is designated by turning face down the title deed representing that property. Note that I have decided to not have title deeds, so for my version of it, instead of mortgaging, you will be selling the property to the bank. Yeah, and of course, there's the whole thing is that if you are not collecting rent, whatever. Color group, own all the tiles. The color group, you get bonus stuff. Hang on, chance, community chest, banker. The bank, jail, house, hotels, building shortage. Oh yeah, that's right. It's like in classic Monopoly, it's intentional to have a limit to the number of houses and hotels that exist. For this, because the fact that I'm having houses that are colored based on the player who placed them, I am going to have it set up so that the players each, not only has their own color of houses, but I lost my train of thought. Dang it. Okay, each player has a certain number of houses they can build. You don't have enough houses to actually put one of them on each property. Now, given that there's 144 properties, plus 28, 30, something like that, 144. Oh yeah, I'd say it's like 172. 172 divided by 10 would be like 17 houses per player, but you're going to want to have more than that, a lot more than that, because the fact that you're going to be having multiple upgrade levels per property, and even if each player only has 17 properties, they could potentially use as much as 170 houses. Yeah, that's actually quite a lot. I'm not really sure how to source parts like that, but yeah, that's a thing. Realistically, I don't think it was a good idea to have like one player like literally able to control every property on the board. But 170 to throw around is a lot, even if it's only what one player has. And I do like the idea of giving players a reason to decide which properties to develop. And of course, you can always sell houses back to the bank, at which point you will receive half of the purchase cost of said house. Which, that works. Yeah, the building shortage rule is one of the weird things in the original Monopoly where, like, oh, that's a thing that exists. And in the original rules for Monopoly, there is actually a mechanic for having the bank auction houses. Like, if there are two players who wish to build a house at the same time, and it's the last one in the bank, the bank will have a special auction to decide which player gets the house. That's in classic Monopoly. Like the OG classic Monopoly. Now, that's not something that comes up often enough for your average player to know that rule exists. But one of the things that I was just pondering is that could have it so that each player has a limitation on what they can build in terms of upgrading properties. But, well, like I mentioned before, we have 170 plus properties total. Oh, that's... I would probably want to have at least 200 houses per player, especially given the fact that you can build up to 10 levels of upgrades. Now, railroads and utilities. I would just run those the same way as in Ultimate Monopoly. The catch, of course, here is that railroads are going to need to have like 16 of them. I'm not sure how many utilities I'll have. Something to ponder, though, yeah. Page 3. Page 4. Still trying to find a certain specific rule. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Is that the rules don't specifically allow it, but they kind of sort of allow it. Is that if all of the houses are taken, you could bribe another player to sell a house to the bank, at which point you will have to buy the house from the bank for the regular price. And whatever you paid to the other player is, extra. Some versions of Monopoly have it that you can force another player to forego collecting rent by giving them a property deed. Like, if you have Baltic, for example, and you uh, need to pay like $2,000 because you landed on a fully developed boardwalk or something. In theory, in certain versions, you could give away Baltic in order to completely cancel out the debt you owe. Um, I don't actually see that in the original Monopoly rules. So it's possible that's something that got added to later editions. Okay. Oh, anyway, dozed off. Ugh. Ah, dang it, dozed off again. Crap, I really should. Uh, yeah, I don't. I was reading the original Monopoly rules, and I just don't see what I was looking for. Uh, oh man. I mean, it has been almost 2 hours that I've been streaming, so yeah, I guess that's fine. Mm. Anyway, though, what was I doing? Yeah, the whole thing about being able to hand over property in lieu of paying rent. Apparently, that's not in the original Monopoly rules. It's something that got added later on. It is actually a relatively common thing for people to do while haggling when they're, out of cash and need to pay a rent that's ridiculous. Yeah, negotiating a property transferal of something like, say, Baltic, when you don't even have the color group for Baltic. Handing over the title deed. Yeah, that's a thing that you would commonly see as an unofficial rule that you could do that, because again, it's that the rules do state that when you owe money, you do whatever means you can to pay it, which includes transferring property deeds to other players. Because in classic Monopoly, you can't sell properties to the bank. The closest you can do to selling a property to the bank is removing the houses from it and mortgaging it. You can't actually lose ownership of it. Once it's owned by someone, it will remain owned until the end of the game. The nature of the owner might change, though, and often has, honestly, but whatever. Ugh, I'm tired. Oh, interesting. I could run the host command. I don't feel like that. Well, can't do raids in Kick. It's unfortunate. Oh well, I guess you can't raid people, so I guess I'll just close stream and yeah. Alrighty then. So I will see you guys later. I am definitely not done with this, and as you can see, it's been taking hours, and yeah, going to take several more hours to finish this. Alrighty, well, see you guys later.